Hello and welcome to another Smaulgld live stream. It is Tuesday evening, the 5th of February 2019. And good evening, Smaulgld mug stackers and game changers. We got a full show tonight. We know we have the President's State of the Union address at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, so we will get you out of here before then. But tonight's topic is reasons to buy gold and silver. Now, we spend a lot of time on this channel talking about some of the reasons not to buy gold and silver, some of the classic pronouncements. We're going to revisit those, but I'd rather focus tonight on more of the positive reasons, and I've got a small list of them myself, and you could be thinking about adding your list to that later on when we get to the main topic of the show, which is reasons to buy gold and silver. All right, let's take a look now at what happened to gold and silver. By the way, you're looking at the new Smaulgld Game Changer mug. That mug is now available for purchase from the Smaulgld store. As you can see, it is colored gold, and on the back it says Game Changer. Now, that Game Changer lettering can be changed. You can edit that to your taste when you go to the website. I will give you the link for that, and you can check that out. Let me just pull that up for you so that you get the full benefit of having a game-changing mug in your home in just a couple of days from the Smaulgld store. So here comes your link. You can check out the Smaulgld game-changing mug. All right, let's check out what happened in the gold and silver markets today. Not a big day, but one thing to note is the equity markets continued their seemingly inexorable climb higher. Dow Jones up 172 points, or up 0.68%. It is now well over 25,000 at 25,411. NASDAQ up 0.74%, up to 7402. That was up a full 54 points. S&P 500 up 12.83 points, up just about 0.5% to 2737. The gold price, though, did okay, given the fact that the equity markets continue to rally. Up a little bit to up to $13. No, that'd be a nice buy, wouldn't it? $13. $1,314.81, up $3.19, up 0.25%. Silver, not so lucky today. Silver was down a little bit, down 2 cents. Down 2 cents to $15.83, but that's pretty much down less than 0.1%. Currently, gold and silver prices in the aftermarket are essentially flat. Dollar index at 96.08. And what did that do for our gold-silver ratio, the unsustainable gold-silver ratio? We've given many reasons why that gold-silver ratio is higher. The main reason is a lot of people keep pointing to natural ratios, 16 to 1, 9 to 1, relative rarity. And just to be repetitive, relative rarity is not necessarily an indicator of value. My example is I made 2 rare paintings in my life. Picasso made thousands. Picassos are worth more. Why is that? Well, because my paintings are considered inferior to his. And silver, for the purposes of which it's used, are considered inferior to gold. Now, when gold and silver were both considered, quote, money by governments, and they had them in circulation in a bimetallic standard, they were essentially considered the same thing, except one was more plentiful than the other, and they generally priced them on that basis. Since silver and gold have been demonetized by governments, and their demand is not based on their monetary value, but other values, the relative rarity becomes less important. And that's why you've seen a divergence in the gold-silver ratio since the ending of the gold standard in 1971 and also ending of silver's monetary use in the United States in 1965. So since 1971, you have not seen anything near a 16 to 1 or 9 to 1 gold-silver ratio. I like to come back to that from time to time because people keep saying unsustainable, and no, it is sustainable as long as there is a different demand profile for each metal. You're going to see gold trade at a higher premium unless there becomes a new demand for silver or an increased demand for silver or a decrease in supply or vice versa with gold. That's why the gold-silver ratio, I believe, is where it is, because they can't be measured against each other as if they're both equally the same monetary metals like they were, for example, let's say in the 1950s and 1940s and so on, because they're not trading that way. All right, let's move on from gold and silver. Oh, one other point here. I think the World Gold Council does a nice job of reporting on the gold trends around the world. And here's one. Just a general statement they made. Gold is a highly liquid yet scarce asset. That's very important. It's desirable, it's scarce, and it is liquid. Therefore, it's money. No, not necessarily. It's no one's liability. Well, nor is my refrigerator or my mattress, but that's a different point. I like when people like to say it's nobody's liability. Your Smaulgld mug isn't anyone's liability. Sorry to digress, but it is bought as a luxury good, just as Smaulgld mugs are, as much as an investment. But he's pointing out here, or they or he or she or whatever idiom wrote, whatever gender wrote this, is that it's as much an investment as a luxury good. And that's very important because it shows that gold is a luxury good, something that is desired apart from it being money. In fact, it became money because it was desired. It didn't start out as money. Bitcoin is rare in that it started out as trying to be a currency, whereas gold, silver were desired in their own right, and then people thought, oh, well, we can trade these because everybody wants them. And as he says, or she, or they, or he, or it, as such, gold can play 4 fundamental roles in a portfolio. That's my point. Gold's primary demand today, according to the World Gold Council, is not investment, it's jewelry. And silver's primary demand is industry, then jewelry and silverware, and then investment. So the investment portfolio portion demand of gold and silver are not the primary reasons to own the metal anymore. Let's move on to the cryptocurrencies. Let's take a look. Let's have a look. Right. Okay. So Bitcoin 34.23, up 0.37%. Bcash at $115.88, minus 1.57%. Litecoin at 33.82, up 1.15%, just now below the market cap of Bcash. It had been higher about a half an hour ago. They call that the flappening when Litecoin passes Bcash. And Ethereum at $105.70, up 0.18%. Not much at all. All right. Let's talk about the Lightning Network. The Lightning Network. Many of you may know, we're not going to go into detail on this, it's just a quick overview, is one of the issues with Bitcoin as it grew, the number of transactions couldn't be handled by the miners fast enough, so it's delays in confirming Bitcoin transactions, and that's when you had the whole fork, the contentious fork, with Roger Ver says, oh, all you got to do is just increase the size of the blocks. I'm not going to get into the issues that that causes and how it's a temporary fix in any event, but one of the ways that they've decided to try to increase the speed on Litecoin, Bitcoin and Litecoin, but Litecoin doesn't have that issue yet, is to create a second layer where people would trade their Bitcoin and then it would get recorded on the blockchain later. In order to do that, they're trying to show with this lightning torch is to pass along a small amount of Bitcoin. And what's interesting now is this Lightning Network, while it's hard and clunky to use, is growing exponentially. And there's a site, 1ML, that tracks it. And you can see here, there's now 5,919 nodes, 23,000 channels, and you can transmit 638 Bitcoin on that. That's about $2.2 million. So it's a big deal, and there's a lot of effort going into this. This is why I don't count out cryptocurrencies. You may not like them, but there are people working on them. People working and innovating and spending time and energy. That gives things, in many instances, a tremendous amount of value. And that's the one thing that's happened in the crypto space, whether you like it or not. There are people that do like it and then do spend enormous amounts of time on it. And that is why they do have current fiat values of Bitcoin's market capitalization is like $68 billion. Now you can say, well, it's down from $20,000. It's only 3,300. Well, it is still something that a group of people have rallied around and spent a lot of time, effort, and money putting into it. So we're going to track the Lightning Network, and I think that will solve, they say will solve the scaling issue, but they're going to have to solve the user interface issue first. What else do we got here? Yeah, talking about just what's going on in the space. Kraken is one of these exchanges, and they're spending a lot of money to buy another crypto exchange in order to offer regulated futures trading in Europe. This guy looks like Crypto Kraken Cobain there. He looks a bit like Kurt Cobain. But not that that has anything to do with anything. Now, Bitcoin ATMs are another one that I'm always following. And back in August 2018, I tweeted out that there are about 100,000 payphones in the U.S., according to money.cnn.com. And only 2,000 Bitcoin ATMs that dispense Bitcoin, Litecoin, and other cryptocurrencies. At the time, I asked people, do you think that will ever switch? Meaning, will the number of Bitcoin ATMs ever surpass the number of payphones? And it's a hard one to answer, but there's definitely a trend. One's going up and the other's going down. And at some point, payphones will probably be obsolete in the United States. They'll probably just remove all of them. But currently, there's still 100,000 left. Now, Bitcoin ATMs, since I tweeted this out back in August of 2018, there were only 2,000 Bitcoin ATMs, and now there's 4,300, of which over 2,600 are now in the United States. So it's a pretty big movement, and I think that those machines actually cause adoption because they're in places like bodegas and supermarkets and places where people will buy the Bitcoin or Litecoin. And usually the merchant who has such a machine will also accept Bitcoin. So you get that flow of commerce going back and forth. But here, you can track yourself. Coin Radar, Coin ATM Radar. This was this morning. I'm sure it's changed. 4,300 worldwide, 2,598 in the United States. And Litecoin is the second biggest of the, I think 99% of these ATMs, that's why they call them Bitcoin ATMs. They're really cryptocurrency ATMs, carry Bitcoin, and a good percentage of them. The second largest coin offered is Litecoin. No surprise there, since it's used in payments very easily. And I think we're going to leave the crypto space and move on. Now remember, we have Donald J. Trump speaking today. And let me just show you what's on his mind. He loves to tout his polls. He says he's looking forward to tonight's State of the Union. Call for unity. Trump approval at 48%. Teflon Don, according to the Drudge Report. Over in China, we always have to take a look at what's going on in China each and every day. Let's see. Well, this is really just a repeat we've all known about, is the idea that China just builds a lot of stuff that it doesn't necessarily need, and it's not driven by market forces. Now, an entrepreneur in a free market will build something that no one needs in the anticipation that somebody might need it. In other words, generally what organizations and companies do is they produce in order to meet an existing need, and if the need grows, then they have to calculate, do we need to produce more? Is the demand going to be there? But some really out there entrepreneurs, Noors, I'm not sure what the correct pronunciation is. Noor is probably incorrect. They will try to create demand in and out of itself, out of whole cloth, because they think they're bringing something new and revolutionary and game-changing to the market. And when they do that, they're anticipating that their investment will eventually be recouped because they'll be able to present something, drum up the demand. Like, for example, I could have gone out and purchased 10,000 mugs. That probably would have been a foolish thing to do and then try to drum up the demand. But instead what I do is I try to order the mugs on a just-in-time basis. I'll carry some inventory to know that I can meet the orders, so that when people order, that I can get them out there and send them out priority mail 2 days and not have any type of delayed orders or people having to wait till the mugs come in. And so that's generally what an entrepreneur does. Not what I'm doing is an example, but it's one that's easy to understand because I have to match the consumer demand for the mugs, which is immense, and with the inventory that I have. And the other way that I mitigate that is by selling some of the other styles of the mugs through the third-party Smaulgld store. Now, that's how entrepreneurs operate. They generally try to meet demand and invest only those amounts that they think they can recoup and make a profit. But what China does is they build stuff knowing that there's no demand and not really caring at all about it. And that's basically because they're not a capitalist society. They're not so much interested in getting a return on their money. So they'll lend money, state-owned banks will lend money to state-owned enterprises to build state-owned projects that there is no organic demand for. Like they'll build these 85-story apartment blocks that no one's going to move into. And it's not even they've calculated through their central planning that in a certain amount of time they'll move into them. Some of them are just built just to build because the bank makes, quote, money lending the loan. The state-owned enterprise makes money building the projects. The people work there, get paid to build the stuff. This is really just a very elaborate way of paying people to dig holes and fill them back up. Now, a lot of people are enamored with this. It's, no, but China now has infrastructure and they have all buildings and capacity. No, actually, this is more of a liability than just digging holes and filling them back up. Because these things here now, because they borrowed enormous amounts of money, oftentimes in dollars. A lot of the state-owned enterprise, most of them operate in dollars. Most people don't realize that. And then they owe the dollars back. But how are they going to get the dollars back? Because the state-owned enterprise doesn't make any money because they're not collecting any rent. Or they're not collecting any tolls on the bridges that they build to nowhere. So then what happens is these things sit idle, and the banks start saying, drumming their thumbs, where's my money? And they know they're not going to get paid. So the People's Bank of China says, don't worry about it. Extend the loan, convert it into equity, lend them more money, whatever it is. And so that's what you have. And then these things sit idle. And it's not like, wow, they're valuable. They're sitting there idle, just waiting to be moved in. Well, if no one's using them, they're going to fall into disrepair, and you're going to have to pay maintenance to keep these things up. But where's the money to pay for the maintenance? There's no one living in them paying the rent to support the maintenance fees. So this is a problem throughout China. And the reason they do this, and they've been trying to move away from this and move into a services economy, is this they know works. This drums up jobs. This drums up GDP. But it's also, quote, unsustainable to do something like this. And there's a glut of these unwanted apartments. Who's going to buy them? Who's going to move into them? And then, of course, they could become a blight. You can get all kinds of issues with derelict properties there. All right. Now, let's see. Well, CoinWalk. I did a poll. Let's do the poll first. It's a very interesting concept. I always hear silver stackers, they have what's called a walking around coin. What was a walking around coin? And it's something, it's a coin. It's usually a 1 ounce coin or maybe 2 ounce coin. They feel comfortable having with, maybe they'll show people, maybe they won't. They just feel, I guess, empowered or confident that they have a silver coin, some kind of connection to the metal they carry it around. And it is not uncommon, at least amongst the Smaulgld mug brigade here. I mean, 41%. I mean, it's a small sample out of 30 people, but that's still 12, 13 people in this audience that carry around a silver coin around. And I think it's very interesting that people do that. Now, I had a new visitor to our site I want to introduce you to. Name is Linda. She runs a channel called Morning Mayan, and she bought a mug last night. It was quite surprising. I hadn't seen Linda on the channel before, and I think she might have joined us for the first time. Maybe she's been lurking for a while, but first time I'd seen her in the chat, and she bought a Smaulgld mug. I thought it was very interesting that she bought the mug because she doesn't come from, if you check out her channel, it's not about gold and silver and so on. And I thought it was interesting she bought it, and even more interesting was she's actually written a book about, it's called No Buy Year. I mean, she's not going to spend money, and she talks about the reason you don't want to spend money on things that you don't need is it's a waste, and that money represents energy, and you don't want to waste your energy. And I thought, well, why is she buying a Smaulgld mug? I'll let you listen to her channel there, her no buy year. But that's a very important point about energy in precious metals, because some people feel a connection to the metal that we have. And we'll get into this when we discuss why buy gold and silver. But welcome to Linda Morning Mayan to the Smaulgld Mug Brigade, the Game Changers, Mug Stackers. She'll be getting her mug on Thursday. I also want to thank someone, and I never give away your privacy, your name or anything, unless you ask or you send me pictures and you say, please post it. But I did receive my second very generous donation today in the form of cash, and that is the paper that it came in. I thought it was very kind and very thoughtful to put it in a baseball. I don't think this person knows that I am a baseball fan, and it was very nice. $10, very nice to have, and that went through. And the reason he was able to do that was he sent it through the page that I generally show here, trolling for donations there. P.O. Box 714 Dover, NH, Smaulgld LLC. Now also, I'm going to show you something else from a Smaulgld subscriber, which I also think is brilliant. We see how we have here the Bitcoin and the Litecoin QR codes, and that enables you, and I think this is, again, there may be no intrinsic value in Bitcoin or Litecoin, but you can transmit value directly to Smaulgld or anyone else just by, if you have a Loaf wallet or some other wallet, you open up your wallet on your phone while you're watching this, and if you're in front of a desktop, you could just hold up your phone and transmit however much Litecoin you wish. Now, Johnny Litecoin, who is a Litecoin evangelist, often sends me Litecoin at very generous amounts, and you know, to demonstrate this. And I don't send them back. What I do is I send them mugs. But let me just show you what he's done. Very enterprising young man. What he's done to bring his love of Litecoin and mugs and coffee together. He's a big coffee drinker. Let me show you what he's done here. All right. Now, he's got this great idea here, and here's how he combines all of his passions in one space. On the left, you see a company called HODL Fuel. Now, I haven't ordered any of their coffee, but they are I suppose they're a crypto-orientated group of people who run they roast coffee and they sell it. And they have different types of names of the coffee, like HODL Fuel, and I can't remember some of the other names. And then you see to the right, you see a Cuisinart coffee maker with a Litecoin emblem on there with a QR code. And of course, below that, you see the centerpiece of any photo, which is the Smaulgld mug. Now, what Johnny's done is he's come up with something very clever. One of the problems you have in an office pool is who's going to pay for the coffee. So sometimes you leave a cup out and you put coins in it, dollars and so on. People don't put stuff in, or they do or they don't. Sometimes people steal the cup. His very creative way here is people have some Litecoins in their wallet. They don't have to have a lot. And they just basically pitch in by, they come by, they either pay per cup, or they can just throw a few dollars, a few percentage of a Litecoin, just by walking in. They never have to have their cash. They don't have to leave the cash out. And it's a very convenient way. He says it works very well. I think I need to stack the office there with some more mugs. All right, well, thank you, Johnny Litecoin, for that. I think that's a very, very important lesson there, that mugs are very important. It's got nothing to do with Litecoin or anything else. It's really that mugs are the centerpiece of an office, or even your life, I suppose. All right, well, it looks like it's time for Moronica. Uh-oh, we got a moron here.
Presenting the distinguished international news commentator and foreign correspondent,
Smaulgld. This has been an extraordinary week in world affairs.
No, I told Hillary Clinton that that's moronic.
Oh boy, this one is dumb. I don't know who this is, but she's introducing a bill. Now, politicians can't do anything except introduce bills that are either going to tax or regulate you. They can't come up with ideas to make money. They can only come up with ideas to take money. Well, she's come up with a beauty. And it's probably just because she's run out of things to to tax, but they always try to justify the tax. So this woman here has introduced HB 5700, a 50% tax increase on ammunition. Doesn't apply to military or law enforcement. There's like, she's not going to go after them. What she's going to do is she's going to tax ammunition to non-military and law enforcement. So law-abiding citizens who want to buy ammunition, well, according to her, they need to pay 50% tax more. Now, here's the rationale, which is moronic. She says, and I'm paraphrasing, we tax cigarettes so that people smoke less. Okay? And we want to cut down on gun violence, so we're going to tax ammunition. Now, I don't even need to, I will explain why it's moronic, but I think you can already see how that's moronic. Because if you are a law-abiding person buying ammunition, the more you buy or the less you buy isn't in any way, shape, or form going to lead to more or less gun violence. It's not like, watch that guy, he's got more ammunition, he's more likely to commit more gun violence. No. If people have ammunition and they stockpile it when it's cheap and they want to go to the shooting range and they want to use it, if you are a law-abiding person, the amount of ammunition you have has nothing to do. It's not like a disincentive. All it is, she should just call it what it is a tax. She wants to tax something that she doesn't like because it is not going to change one iota. It's not like the mass shooter is going to go in the store and say, oh, it's 50% tax. I think I got to call off the shooting. Forget it. I mean, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard of, that we're going to cut down on gun violence by taxing ammunition. Like somehow there's an analogy there. There really isn't. It's just basically when you are a politician and you just have the power to tax, you'll just tax everything. It's tax the pennies on your eyes, as George Harrison once sang in Taxman, because everything has to be taxed. Now, here's something. Now, normally Bernie Sanders does get the brunt of some of my moronica, but this one actually isn't that dumb. This one, it's following moronic. We're past moronica. Sanders and Schumer call for limiting corporate stock buybacks. Now, corporate stock buybacks are really not an element of the free market. They're really not capitalism, because if the market says your company's stock sucks and it's not worth $14, it's only worth $10, and the board of directors is saying, hey, what's going on here, guys? And they tell the management, what's going on? How come the stock's not $14? You're not hitting your targets. We're not making any money. They said, oh, but we're hitting our targets and we're doing great, and we've got our diversity hires up, and we should be worth $14. Now, what the board can do at that point is say, well, let's make it $14. And they say, how do we do that, boss? Sell more product? No, buy your own stock back. Borrow money and buy the stock back. So I can see how really no one should be in favor of that practice other than the shareholders, because it doesn't cost them anything really, and they just get free money. It's a subsidy. The price goes higher, but the company hasn't done anything to deserve the higher price. It's like you get to own the scoreboard. You're losing 7-3, and you say, you got any fours lying around, any fives, and then you win the game because you happen to have control of the scoreboard. I've never liked stock buybacks. The mentality is that if the board is smart enough to see that their company is undervalued, what company won't think it's undervalued if the directors and officers are being paid on the basis sometimes of their stock options and where the stock is? They're going to try to boost the stock price there. And really, who loses in that? It's actually a victimless crime, you may say, because the stockholders, they don't care. They don't really care if the company goes from $10 to $14 on the basis that they bought their own stock back instead of hiring workers, innovating, creating more revenue opportunities, profit opportunities. If they can get the stock price to $14, they've made their 40%, they're out of there. What do they care how they get there? But it really is a market distortion. Now, I don't know why Sanders and Schumers are calling for the limitation to corporate stock buybacks. Probably because someone's getting rich. And they don't like that. That's probably what Bernie's is. The 1%, they got the stock options, and they should give them to my wife because my wife has... Never mind. All right. Well, that, I think, is actually a noble cause there. Go Bernie. I hope he runs, because that'll give us plenty of fodder. And finally, very interesting. Powell and the vice chairman, I don't know what her name is or his name is, they met with the president and Munchkin, the Treasury Secretary, and they felt obligated, almost like James Comey, after the meeting, to put out a statement. Now, they didn't leak what was said during the meeting. One can only guess that Trump gave him a bit of a dressing down. They actually put out a statement that said FOMC will set monetary policy in order to support maximum employment and stable prices. First of all, that is considered their dual mandate. So, of course, that's what they're supposed to do. But then it says, and will make those decisions based solely on careful and objective, which is what they should do. Then it says non-political analysis. So that implies, the only reason they would put that statement out is that Trump tried to strong arm him and say, listen, guys, got 2020 coming up. In fact, guys are interested in really being fed nerds. There's a book, Inside the Nixon Administration, The Secret Diary of Arthur Burns. Now, this is a guy who is the chairman of the Federal Reserve Board, appointed by Richard E. Nixon, as Archie Bunker once called him. It's actually Richard M. Nixon, standing for Richard Milhouse Nixon. And Burns thought he was going to be some type of independent Fed guy, and he was going to conduct monetary policy. By the way, they didn't have the dual mandate back then. Maximum employment got added in 1978, I believe, under Carter. But in any event, or many events, Burns got brought into the administration on the understanding that he'd help Nixon get reelected because Nixon wanted loose monetary policy, wanted a good stock market in 1972. And Burns immediately realized that he wasn't going to be independent. Talks about in the book how Nixon let him have it a few times. So it's not without precedent that presidents lean on they lean on their Fed chairs because they want to get reelected or for whatever political reason. All right, let's see what else. All right, let's get into reasons to buy gold and silver. Now, you may recall a while back that and let me see which one we're going to use. I think it's this one. Oh, yes. All right. We put up this chart a while back. And I called it, I think it was Stunning Chart That Screams Buy Gold and Silver. And the Smaulgld game changers understood exactly what this was when they saw it. But of course, I did attract a lot of people who scroll YouTube looking for mega confirmation bias and reasons to buy gold and silver. And they want to read, and they want to watch all the videos that say silver and gold are set to skyrocket. So I purposely put this part of the show at the very end, so they had to listen to like 30 minutes of something else before they got to the stunning chart that screamed buy gold and silver. And what we had on the chart was on the left the level of BS, and then we had 10 years worth of BS, and we had all the reasons in there. And I've since updated. I had left out Shemitah. I don't know how I left Shemitah out. That was big around 2000. It was big for 2 years because they pumped it 1 year, and then when it didn't happen, they said, oh, we calculated wrong. It's next year. And then that year, they continued to push the Shemitah set to skyrocket. And then I finally realized after my debate with David Morgan, one of the ones they do is gold is money, period. And because it has that money, somehow it's just... Here's the thing. Something doesn't have to be money to have value. And you can just think of all the things in the world that have value that aren't money. But that was another one. And that still remains one. Gold is money, period. Silver is money, period. JP Morgan. And a lot of these, they have no basis in, they're just fantasies. They're just someone's speculation, or someone wants this to happen, or in many cases, they cherry pick a couple of facts. They show some things. They don't explain the full story. Either they don't know it. They're not interested in knowing it. They just want to say this is going to happen. And then gold and silver set to skyrocket. Remember, greatest wealth transfer in history was going to happen in this decade. Well, there's just another 11 months for that to happen. And, we have JP Morgan's buying silver, Eagle, silver, whatever they were buying, 800 million ounces. That's not a reason, I don't think, to buy gold or silver. It hasn't been a reason. COMEX default, we talked about, dollar collapse, QE4, negative interest rates coming, gold-silver ratio, unsustainable, silver shortages, Shemitah, gold, back yuan, petro yuan, all that stuff. Commercials are going long for the first time in history. All these stories, and they're all pretty much based around some type of, they're all negative. They're either negative in the sense that there's some type of collapse coming or someone's doing something shady. And really, the reason you need gold and silver is because you're going to, quote, protect yourself. That something's going to collapse on your head and you're going to hold up your monster box and deflect whatever is going to fall on your head. The idea of precious metals as a hedge, I have no problem with. I agree that they can be insurance, they can hedge you against it. But the incessant sales pitches and newsletter writers are always telling you there's something wrong. There's something wrong, there's something wrong, there's something wrong. Something bad is going to happen, something bad is going to happen. You got to have my newsletter and you got to have your gold and silver, period. Now, I've been thinking that that's, if you look at the demands for gold and silver, especially silver, 10 to 15% of silver demand is for investment. And I would take it, a lot of that investment demand is based on some of the stuff you see up here. Some people got hoodwinked into buying silver because COMEX was going to default soon. Or they want to be where JP Morgan, because if JP Morgan is buying silver, I want to be with them. I don't even know where that comes from. There is no more silver left in the world. There is a silver shortage. All these stories, that's why people bought silver. Gold, same thing. But when you think about it, there's actually, in the demand of silver and the demand of gold, very large amounts of gold, the most amount of gold is for its beauty, for jewelry. A large amount of silver is also for jewelry and silverware. And the reason that people liked gold and silver in the first place wasn't because they were money, period, or they were expecting a collapse. It's because they wanted them for their beauty, their elegance, their usefulness. Not because they were planning for a collapse. Yes, they can serve that function. But what's happened in this gold and silver YouTube land is it's all based on gold and silver and money, period. Shemitah is coming, collapse is coming, someone's manipulating this or that. And those are reasons, they're fear tactics to get you to buy silver. Not that the fears are totally out of hand, but they've made them to be imminent. And that's what the COMEX default one's been going on for 20 years. You can go back, just type in COMEX default and then put a year in, and you'll see somebody's talking about how the COMEX is going to default. There's books called Dollar Collapse going back. There's Ron Paul talking in 1986, end of dollar hegemony. There's all this negative stuff. But now on the positive side, remember, gold and silver were valuable before they were money. That's why they became money, and maybe that's why there's a certain subsegment of people who like gold and silver for the negative reason, but there's so many positive reasons. Yes, they are a store of value. That doesn't make them money. That makes them a store of value. They are a symbol of confidence and wealth. That very interesting thing we have with the poll. Why does someone walk around with a thing of silver? I think it's because, I'll have to ask them. Maybe you put in the comments. I'm not looking at them now. Do you feel rich when you're walking around with a piece of silver? I bet you probably do. It's a symbol of confidence and wealth. Remember, the best of times are called golden eras. The Depression is not called a golden era. Thank goodness I had my gold and silver when the stock market collapsed. No, the golden eras are one where people are rich. There's abundance, and that's why they're called golden eras. They're good for insurance, no doubt. That doesn't make them money. That also doesn't make something you want to talk about all the time. Insurance is not the most interesting component of an asset. And if it's only insurance, then it's very boring. They're collectible. There are people who collect silver and gold objects. We have Smaulgld subscribers who collect kookaburras, silver pandas, different types of silver rounds. They collect them. The other one is you buy them because you can. Now, I know that sounds simple, but the reason there's great physical gold demand in China and gold and silver demand in India is because they're rich now. They can buy gold and silver. It's not, I can buy gold and silver because there is a collapse coming. No. In a sense, in many ways, gold and silver are, they may have components of insurance, but they're also a sign of ostentation and frivolity. Fun. You have people wasting money, so to speak, when they make, you've seen, I used to put these a lot on Twitter. I haven't done so much anymore, but the foods, the gold dusted donut, and they have all types of desserts they make with gold leaf and so on. Now, that's not a reason to buy gold, but you can see there's an attraction to gold that is a positive connotation, not something that's a bunker style connotation. Also, you can buy it because, yes, in an emergency, it can revert to, it's the dormant money theory. It can revert to a medium of exchange. But to me, that only gives it a partial value. If you're buying gold and silver because you hope one day that you're going to be, not hope, or you think one day you can be able to use it as barter, how much of that do you need? And how much do you really think the market is giving to gold and silver for that value? Because if that was the case, constitutional junk, 90% silver, would be the most expensive. It's not. I'm not saying the market is necessarily correct or I agree with that, but just keep that in mind. People are not stacking Roosevelt, pre-1965 Roosevelt dimes. You may like them, you may value them, you may treasure them, but the market doesn't. But that is a good reason, I think, to own gold or silver. They do have industrial use. And there is value in that. And that's something that you can buy in the sense that not because it's money or not because anything's going to collapse, but because things are going to carry on and they're going to be needed. So in a non-collapse scenario, silver is going to be needed to power solar panels, to power electronics and all the other uses. They are finding new uses for silver every day. Yes, they are. And that is a positive thing. That is not a collapse scenario. All right, let's see what you guys think here, what you've been thinking about. But I think those are more valid reasons because the others are really, they're a negative bet. And again, there is a component of insurance and hedging in gold and silver. But I don't think that's their primary function. I think a lot of people buy gold and silver just for the insurance and just for the, well, I think it's foolish when they think they're going to buy it because they're going to spend it. Because I don't think that's very remote. Yes, that's part of the insurance if there's an EMP or there's a collapse in some way and you have to spend your constitutional silver. Okay, fine. But I don't think that's the primary reason to buy gold or silver. But those are the primary reasons that you hear on these channels and that you've been seeing as we have seen displayed on that chart. All right, let's get you a drink there, and let's get back to the questions. Kookaburra, I think someone is making fun of my Australian. All right. Ann is here, Pablo is here, De La Villa is here, same crowd, very nice. By the way, if you want to buy gold or silver, here's the pitch. Remember, I don't have any ads on here other than myself pitching stuff. SD Bullion link right there. Smaulgld gets a small commission. Non-investment advice to buy gold or silver, but you can go there at that link and pay no more no less. If you're going to go there anyway, might as well feed the Smaulgld mugs. All right, let's see. What else do we got here? Scott Wardell. Border guards may not accept Federal Reserve notes. Okay, but they may already have too many Smaulgld mugs. Yeah, you know what Mark Dice should do? She should stand outside of a coin shop holding up a 1-ounce American Gold Eagle and one of these fine Smaulgld mugs, I guarantee you they'll all take the mug, filled or not. But imagine you see the Smaulgld mug filled up with a nice brew, frosted mug. You'd grab that in a minute. You can reuse it. Like number 7. Are you guys talking about the 7 and 8, the reasons to buy Smaulgld mugs? Is that what you're talking about? Like, oh, your like number. Okay. Because there are 18 reasons to buy Smaulgld mugs. Some people don't even know about this. I think I'm going to link to this right now. Was originally 10, but then I upped it to, what did I up it to? 18. I'm going to pull it up for you right now. I'm going to give you that link. I might just play it at the end. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play it at the end. I'm not going to link to it. I'll link to it and play it at the end. Will border guards accept crypto if the web is up? Smells like yes, that is true. All right, what else? Pablo Pina, I just saw a video on YouTube today. The new Gillette commercial ad parody. Mugs are on the JIT inventory system. People's Bank of China is backed by mugs. Yes, they had ceramics in China for the longest time. Pablo Pina, I'm sure there's property taxes to carry in those apartments. Yes, and what's happened in China, they have to like cut taxes now. Because of that, they've had to give out subsidies, and as I mentioned, they have to extend loans. The problem, I don't have a problem with China. If that's what they want to do, that it's going to collapse. But a lot of people that are gold bugs, and they dislike the American model, which, you know, the Fed and all the money printing and the fiscal policy that spends trillion-dollar deficits every year. I get all that. And they think that gold is the anti-dollar. So because the United States has all those problems, once the dollar collapses, then gold will skyrocket and they'll be rich. And then they think of China as their gold buddy. Like China's going to help do this. China's going to crush the dollar, gold back you on. Not realizing that China is even worse off than the United States. If you don't like what the United States does for debt, China does it by a multitude of gratitude, multitude more. And they have all types of other issues with social credit scores, all types of apps that alert you when you're standing next to a deadbeat creditor, a debtor. But they seem to think that China is going to save them. Like if China were to become more ascendant, then gold would be more ascendant and they'd be rich and that would show the dollar. I'm like, I don't understand that logic at all. It's almost like the ammunition tax. It's quite moronic. But they actually believe that, and then they justify this mindless building of bridges and tunnels. Oh, they've got infrastructure and they can build stuff. Anyone can build stuff. It's not the idea that you can build stuff. You have to build it to a profit. That's like saying Smaulgld is great. He can go out and buy 50,000 mugs. Yeah, but if I can't sell them, what does that mean? Well, now he's got mugs. So what? They're of no use to anyone. Just as those buildings are no use. That's not... Smaulgld is smart because he has mugs. Well, actually, that's true, but I really shouldn't use anti-mug examples. Undercutting my own... Let's see, what else do we got here in the comments? What else do we got in the comments? Nothing like a good condo investor paradise going among unsuspicious populace in Ghost Town. Yep. DW has a walk-around coin. De La Ville wears gold and silver. Pablo Pena says precious metals is a store of energy. That's right. Gold and silver are created through massive amounts of energy by God, right? And then the creation of them and the forging of them into jewelry or coins or rounds and the artistry work. There's a lot of energy in that. So they do reflect. And the mining of them. I mean, all of that is a tremendous amount of energy, ingenuity, innovation. They're all positive things. The negatives. A very good point. Precious metals is a store of energy. And that's why walking around with, I guess, a silver coin gives you that. I do also, but carry a very small gold coin. Oh, Anne's walking around with the big stuff. I hope it's a 1/20th ounce coin anymore, and I'd hate to lose it. Yeah, half an ounce in. Yeah. I think a 20, you would lose it. A 20th ounce coin. They're so tiny. Andrew already picked up a game changer mug. Yes, we did sell some Smaulgld game changer mugs last night. Those are mini muggages. That mug will not be around much longer. So there it is. It is gold. Now I've had some people say, well, that's the color scheme there is a little funky. Well, that's right. We are game changing the rules of color schemes there, because it is, after all, a Smaulgld game changer mug, limited edition, limited minty muggage. Andrew says, Pablo, let me know if it really feels like a game changer mug when you get it delivered. Mint Mark SI, yes, I carry a generic buffalo round. I would say it's like a rabbit's foot kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, there you go. There's your luck. Now, that doesn't mean the concept of having a walk-around coin isn't to be carrying around a monster box. So you don't buy gold or silver so you can walk around with it. But the idea that you'd want to walk around with one of them is interesting. Ann says, feel good, doesn't it? I like carrying my little gold coin. Walden Tree, bringing in the conspiracies here. Let's see. Scott Wardell, ammo tax. Yeah. Yeah. You hate to see who you send out to collect that tax. Yeah. What else do we got here? I want to see your views on reasons to buy. Here we go. Scott Wardell says the #1 reason to buy PM is border guards. Border guards, like walls, are not to keep them in, although it helps is to keep us in. I wonder if anyone ever did a study on how many people left through the Berlin Wall by using precious metals to bribe the border guards to get themselves out, or out of Hungary, or wherever they were. Shark Air. Now, this is a comment I see a lot. He keeps saying silver's going to $12.50, but then I don't see any other comment. It's almost like he needs to throw that in there. It's subliminal. It's like the other guy, Jar Innovations. Bitcoin's a Ponzi scheme. Bitcoin's a Ponzi scheme. Shields are made of metal, Lewis. Yes, okay. Reason #4, if PMs go up, you'll have more money to buy mugs. Well, that is definitely true. I mean, if PMs go up, if anyone ever hits it big, you know your first stop is Smaulgld. You're gonna buy out the entire collection, and then throw a big Smaulgld mug party for the Smaulgld game changers, and that would be quite a party. Okay, here it is. 18 reasons to buy and hoard mugs. Let's just play it. You can get the music in it. Let's see the comments while you're listening. 10 reasons why you should buy a Smaulgld mug. Reasons to buy and hoard mugs. #1, mugs have been used for drinking for more than 5,000 years. #2, they are finding more uses for mugs every day. #3, we could not live our lives without mugs. #4, the Russians and Chinese are buying mugs hand over fist. #5, mugs are made in China. #6, mugs are hard assets. #7, mugs are real wealth. #8, mugs cannot go to zero. #9, mugs are portable. #10, mugs are drinking vessels, period. Wait, there is more. You can mix Mountain House in a mug. You can carry your barter silver in a mug. You can do many things with mugs that you cannot do with fiat currencies. Measure your wealth in mugs. They have mugs at the offices of JP Morgan and central banks. That is all you need to know. When the excrement hits the fan, you'll want to have your Smaulgld mug close by. Buy your Smaulgld mugs today. Reasons to buy and hoard mugs. #11, you can stack mugs. As you can see here, mugs are stackable. Add to your mug stack today. Buy a Smaulgld mug. Reasons to buy and hoard mugs. #12, you can put coffee in a mug. As you can see here, someone very clever has done so. Buy a Smaulgld mug today. Reasons to buy and hoard mugs. #13, you can put cognac in a mug. As you can see here, someone is thinking of putting cognac in a mug. Buy a Smaulgld mug today. Reasons to buy and hoard mugs. #14, you can display a mug on a studio soundboard. As you can see here, someone has displayed a mug on a studio soundboard. This highlights how versatile mugs can be. Mugs can be put in countless places, and we intend to show you as many of those places as possible. Buy a Smaulgld mug today. Reasons to buy and hoard mugs. Number 15. Mugs do not require electricity. As Smaulgld subscriber Wild Bill points out, mugs will still be usable after an EMP. Mugs do not require electricity. Here is a picture of a Smaulgld mug and another Smaulgld mug. They will look the same before and after an EMP and never require electricity. Buy a Smaulgld mug today. Reasons to buy and hoard mugs. Number 16. Mugs are undervalued. The price of mugs is about the same price as it was 10 years ago. This means that mugs are one of the most undervalued assets on the planet. Buy a Smaulgld mug today. Reasons to buy and hoard mugs. Number 17. You can hold your keys in a mug. Keys are very important. You can hold your keys in a mug. As you can see here, someone has put their keys in a mug. Buy a Smaulgld mug. Reasons to buy and hold mugs. Number 18. You can defend yourself with a mug. Mugs make great defensive weapons. In many states, you can open carry mugs. In all states, you can conceal carry mugs. Protect yourself with a mug. Buy a Smaulgld mug today. Alright, well there you go. Those are enough reasons if you haven't gotten your Smaulgld mug. You need to get at least one to prepare yourself for what is coming. Put your mountain house in the mug. You're good to go. Alright, unless there's any other comments or questions, we will see you tomorrow. We'll probably, concealed carry is big, Scott, on the mugs. And just check your state for what the rules are. But definitely do not want to be disarmed from or dismugged. We'll probably talk about the State of the Union speech and the reaction to the speech. But what I also wanted to get into, and I was going to do tonight, was the I have some information on nickel and copper. Both are currently used in coinage and have been for thousands of years. So let's, just happy to see you. That's not a mug. Mugs are great. Yep. All right, everyone. Fiona Whalen. She's new. Let's see. Mugs are great, but the half-liter bottles of vodka are even better. Yes, great bartering tool that comes from USSR. Collapse survivor. Yeah, you know, little bottles, those little things, of cognac, whiskey, vodka. Vodka's good. They're definitely good. The only difference between, if you look at the, I'll give this one to you. I actually did a YouTube and a blog post asking, is cognac money, or cognac and whiskey money? And basically, I came to the conclusion they were. The only downside of cognac, and they last. I mean, they can last. Still, distilled liquors can last a long time. The only issue, and they're durable, and they're divisible. You can break them down into an ounce, and so on. I'm going to give you this thing here. The only problem is once you use the whiskey, it's gone. You cannot use it again. But here you go. It's Cognac Money Test. Maybe you want to check that out. Listen to the... I could play it for you, but you get bored. You come here for the live stuff, and I can play old videos. But yeah, check it out. Or Cognac and Whiskey Money. And I go through the reasons. Durable, divisible, portable, fungible, store value, relative scarcity too. You know, if you get rare whiskey, rare cognac. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining me tonight. Oh, morning, man. Linda is here. Your ears must be burning. We were talking about you earlier. Good to see you here. And Fiona, yes, any liquor is store of wealth. Much more than beer or wine because they don't last as long. All right. Pablo Pina's mug is backed by coffee. You know what? I'm going to leave you guys not with a picture of a mug, but a picture of a mug and a dog. I think that's the best thing. I think we're going to get Lucky up again today. Lucky on a side. There he is. We love Lucky. Profile picture. No, that's not that. I want to show Lucky in his best light. So I'm going to show him right now. Lucky on the bed. guarding his small gold mug. All right, everyone. Good night, and we will see you tomorrow. Good night, Lucky. What a fine dog.